All right. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to the All Things Performance Podcast. Man, I love the guest today. Good friend, great teammate, Valley legend, Phoenix legend. You know what
Ah,
I'm saying? Phoenix legend, Phoenix. What are the words can I use to describe this dude, man? Like you've been to pretty much, you play football at almost all the powerhouses in Arizona. You know what I'm saying? FK, aka Phoenix College, Northern Arizona University. You
yeah,
played against, the greats that have played at the other big schools. My good friend, man, Richard Lucero. Rich, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, Joe. Thanks for having me on, man. Super excited to be here with you.
Yeah, man, Richard Lucero. Shoot, man. Full disclosure, Rich and I have been. I mean, we've known each other since childhood.
Yes, sir.
South side of Phoenix. I know that we went to different elementary schools and junior high schools. Um, we're at the same high school together, um,
Correct.
and played football in college together, and then afterwards together. And so I've gotten a chance to see Rich up close and personal, and vice versa, just in the way he conducts himself, his passion for the game of football and life. And so, Rich, man, thank you so much for joining us, bro.
No problem, Joe. Hey, you're a good friend of mine, man. I really value our relationship. It started before sports. We were
Yeah.
friends and we had first hour in Tempe High together, remember? Business computers, man. And I have valued your friendship since then, bro.
No, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I mean, there's a lot that when I thought about this podcast today, there's so many things, man, that you and I can talk about that we can share with our audience.
For sure.
And when I started looking at your journey and what you've done and the successes that you've had, even some of the tribulations that you've gone through, this
For sure.
theme of creating opportunities keeps coming up to me. Like when I think about your situation, creating opportunities, and I think that there's this misnomer in sports, right? We hear it all the time. Oh, I'm just waiting for an opportunity. I'm sure you
Right.
heard that before.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like I'm just waiting for opportunity. And then, but sometimes, man, if you think about it, you have to create opportunities. You know what I'm saying? If you're not given opportunities, you have to create opportunities. And so
I
I
agree.
want I want you to talk about that just real quick. With your journey as an athlete and why creating opportunities is a different mindset.
Well, I honestly think um, it goes all the way back to the leadership of my father. And something he used to say was that in this world, you're not guaranteed anything, and that nobody's going to give you anything, that you have to go out there and get it, and you have to go out there and earn it. And so that was a value instilled with me at a very young age. Those car rides when it was just one on one with me and my dad, right? And we were talking, about life, and he was offering me, that wisdom. That's something that really has stuck with me, throughout my life. And I think what you're saying, as far as mindset is concerned, that's the most important part of this whole deal is your own mindset. That's really the only mindset that matters when you're going through life and you're working on creating those opportunities, is kind of where your mindset is personally and what your goals are, and what's your determination to get there. But
Yeah.
I attribute a lot of it to my parents, first of all, but to my father, because I did have a father in my life who was there, and he played a significant role in my upbringing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I love that. I love that tribute. And I think that that's very important, to understand that, because, you know, many people say, to your point, you can't teach heart, right? You can't teach perseverance. Either you have it or you don't. I actually
Correct.
disagree with that, because you can teach that stuff. Just
Correct.
like you said, right? In the car rides, after games, after practices, at the dinner table, you can
Mm-hmm.
teach that stuff. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, as far as the
Mm-hmm.
principles. And so I think that what you said is very, it was very well said, and very well put. A lot of athletes, they talk about the grind. We hear that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And I think sometimes when you talk about this word, the grind, or whatever term you want to put in, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
the terms get watered down, you know?
Correct. Yeah.
and and then all of a sudden it's just like they get so watered down that we don't know what it means. Like, what does
Correct.
that mean, the grind? What, because it's hard? You know what I'm saying? What, because it's like, don't get me wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like, I work with professional baseball players for almost 10 years and they're playing 162, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
NFL football season is
It's a
16
lot.
plus.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball season is long. You have
Mm-hmm.
young kids, and we're going to talk about this here in a minute. Like the
Mm-hmm.
youth sports is no joke anymore.
Yeah.
But I want you to put some meat on the bone as it relates to what is the difference between the grind, right? Hard work, right? Never quitting. Because the last time I checked, hard work, struggles, trials, tribulations, it's part of it, right? It's part of it.
Correct.
So
Of
what's your
course.
definition of the grind, bro?
It's everything that it takes to reach your goal. And there's times where the pathway changes, right? You're navigating different waters. You get new coaches every year sometimes in youth sports who may or may not believe in you. It's hard work, especially the sport of football. You have to practice 5 days a week in the heat, especially here in Arizona, to play a 45 minute to 60-minute game on the weekend, right? And each play lasts is only 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it takes a whole week to prepare for those moments, right? And it's not just during the season, it's in the off season when nobody's there to tell you to pick up that ball or go run that sprint or work on your feet. And so there's a commitment to that grind that it shouldn't end. You get your breaks, of course, and you step away. But if you have a goal in life, there's not always a clear pathway to that goal, but you shouldn't change your goal. And it's a grind, but it's worth it though, especially once you reach those results, right? And then you set a higher bar and then you keep reaching for that. So it really is a combination of in season, off season, with coaches, without coaches. I remember when I was younger, and I share these stories with my boys because, I'm the dad now and all that good stuff. I would get out and I would run sprints in my street. I didn't have access to these facilities, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't trainers galore as there are now. And then even if they were, it costed money, right? And so I'd get out, I'd go run sprints by myself in the street. I did a small camp freshman year in high school, and Jake Plummer, ASU legend, Cardinal legend, right, said, hey, you know what? The one thing that helps me, I jump rope. Do this when you jump rope. And from there on out, Joe, I jump rope, man, every single night, man. And let me tell you, it paid dividends. Whether it was some sort of placebo effect, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know, man, when I got on that field, I was incredibly tough to bring down. My feet were incredibly quick. I wasn't the fastest guy on the field. I didn't need to be the fastest guy in the field, right? But having those quick feet, I mean, it made a huge, impact on my game. And I think that's another thing too I want to point out is having good, strong coaches, men in your life helping you along the way. I've had coaches in my life that have been there for me that kept me from walking away from the grind,
Yeah.
right? There's times where you're like, man, I don't know, maybe I suck, I'm not doing well, I'm no good at this anymore. And you're a child because that's where your mind is, right?
Yeah.
Like I have a son leaving junior high and everything's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad, man. Let's talk about the things that are good. But in your mind at that age, right?
Yeah.
Things tend to bother you more. And so I'm thankful for those coaches that were there, like Coach Buckner, Jacob Buckner's dad,
Yeah.
he was pretty much my coach for about 4 to 5 consecutive years of Pop Warner. And we had tremendous success, but he was there to help keep me going. you know, to stay on that grind. And so I almost think you got to take that grind personal too, Joe. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's got to be something it's a one-on-one intimate relationship, because at the end of the day, you know, you are part of a team and you're trying to assist your team, obviously, to win. And but there's got to be a personal commitment to that. And you got to personally commit to that grind, man. And it couldn't look different, right? It couldn't look different for everybody.
Yeah.
It can mean different things. Positions are different. But the one thing is that individually, you got to make 110% commitment to it,
Yeah.
to
I like,
yourself, right? How do you feel
mhm.
about that, man? What are your thoughts on that?
No, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going,
It's
please.
okay. No, I mean, as we talk about this, right? It's not something that I think about like, how am I going to talk to Joe about, explaining that grind process, right? And it's crazy, man, because you don't see it coming. It comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
All of a
You,
sudden, your sports career is over, right?
yeah.
And everything. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you said something powerful, man. You said something powerful. I like what you said about, the grind. You got to take it personal. I think there's a lot of
Hmm.
self-discovery with all of us. Like when you really
Hmm.
take your sport seriously, there
Hmm.
comes a moment where you have to have that me time. And it's just
Hmm.
like you're working out by yourself. No
Correct.
teammates, no
Yep.
coaches, no
Mm-mm.
trainers, no nutritionists. It's just you. And you're like, yo, dude, the
Mm-hmm.
dream is on me right now. So I love what you said
Correct.
about that. You also
Hmm.
said something else that's very powerful that I do not want our listeners to miss. Man, you said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you said, man, the pathway may change, but the
Hmm.
goal never changes. And I
Mm-mm.
just for like 60 seconds, or 2 minutes, whatever the case may be, I want you to take our listeners through your grind, your journey, right?
Hmm.
Because you went an unconventional route doing unconventional things and was able to see the world, to see the United States landscape of football unlike most. Talk to us real quick about your journey, man.
So real quick with my journey, man, I owe a lot, a tremendous amount, first of all, to my family. Early on, especially to my parents. Growing up in South Phoenix, at a time where it was a dangerous place to live, there was, major distractions and influences that could take you down, and send you down the wrong pathway, right? So my parents, I had a loving home. We grew up in the South Side, and they put us in sports, bro. Um, to I guess to keep us busy, right? So we can have some fun, man. Just have a different life. And my father, he played varsity football at South, and he just loved the sport, right? And I don't know if they really thought it would amount to what it amounted to. You're just parents, you know how it is being a parent, man. You're just
Yeah.
trying to do your best, dude. Right? There's no book, man, that you can read that's going to prepare you for all the things we're going to go through, right? And so growing up, I actually started off at South Phoenix Pop Warner, but you know, um, the coaches at the time didn't quite see me as anything but an offensive lineman, right?
That's crazy, man.
And it is crazy, and it was difficult, because you wanted more of an opportunity to maybe try a skill position, right? But it wasn't working out, and here we go navigating these waters. Okay, and so my dad ended up moving us into Tempe Pop Warner. And the very first coach I had, he said, "Hey, my son would, he can throw the ball pretty well. He'd like to try out for quarterback." And I don't know what happened that day, but he told my dad, "Hey, your son's never going to play quarterback. I played quarterback, college football or whatever, right?" And this is a long time ago, dude. Like we're talking like 8 years old, so it's hard to
Yeah.
remember like the super details
Yeah.
and whether I performed or if I didn't perform, whatever. I'm 8 years old, right, dude?
Yeah.
Like, how can you make that assumption on a child at 8 years old?
Crazy.
Crazy, right? And at this point, I don't necessarily have a goal to grow up to be an NFL quarterback, right? I'm just here to play football. I'm meeting new friends. I'm in a different area of town. I mean, growing up in South Phoenix at that time, Tempe was like thousands of miles away.
Yeah. Yep.
We didn't really go there, right? going to visit family in the West Valley felt like a forever day trip. Now it's like you're there in 15 minutes. It's crazy, right? It
Hey,
was
now
so spread
everybody live
out.
on the West Side, man. Come on, man.
I know, right? But you get what I mean? So like you're in foreign territory and you're a child and you're just, wanting to play football. Well, anyways, man, I ended up being the starting quarterback of his team, and I again, I don't recall the whole thing, but I had to change his tune, man. I had to change his mind that
Again,
he
creating opportunities.
creating that opportunity, right? And not giving up on that goal, which was just a small goal, was to try to play a skill position, and prove that, whether it was because I was Hispanic or whatever it was, that I could actually, be a quarterback, in other words. Okay. So I ended up being his quarterback, man, and that's the only position I've played ever since.
That's
Now, fast
crazy.
forward, yeah, right. So fast forward from there, I went through Tempe Pop Warner and ended up going to Tempe High School. My parents were trying to get us into a better high school, a better academic environment, I guess, right? And out of the hood. Okay. I mean, this is what you do as a parent, or
Yep.
what you try to do for your children, right? You try to get them into a better spot. And so at Tempe High School, coming in, not even a freshman, man. I mean, all of that hard work and effort through Pop Warner and having Coach Buckner, right, and the coaches I had there, even the guy who said I wasn't going to be able to do this, helped me,
Yeah.
right? It prepared me, man, for high school. And before I was even a freshman, man, two senior quarterbacks quit summer camp because I was lighting it up. I felt great. I felt confident. We were winning all the tournaments over the summer. And, freshman year, started JV. We went 5-3, had a great year. And then my sophomore year, was battling out with Mortensen at Tempe High.
Yeah.
And it was a neck and neck race. And due to him being the incumbent starter, they planted the flag on Mortensen. But what made that more challenging was, his father was also on the coaching staff, right?
Oh yeah.
And let me tell you, man, nepotism, I guess if you want to call it that, is incredibly challenging to defeat.
Yeah.
It's incredibly challenging to defeat. And I started feeling defeated that
Yeah.
season as I was a sophomore on varsity, which was great, but I wasn't playing very much. I was sitting back watching. And even during games that I should have been able to get in, Apache Junction or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I still
Hey, no
didn't get.
disrespect to Apache Junction, man.
No
But we
disrespect,
used to
but at the
we
time,
used to whoop on y'all.
right? So at the time, right, that was a game where you would think, you're going to get some PT. I respected the coaches. I wasn't happy with their decision, but I respected it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, you're a young man and you're starting to grow and you're starting to see the things you're capable of, right? But then you're starting to see the world and how they can try to kind of take you off your pathway.
Yeah.
Again, whether it's because there's a family member on the staff, maybe the color of your skin, maybe what your background is, right? And it could not be any of that. But let's be
Or
honest.
in your case, who's already there, who has favor with the coaching staff. You know what I'm saying?
That is correct. And when I ran into that battle, we realized as a family we were not going to be able to overcome that, no matter how successful I was on the field, no matter how hard I worked. And it was that was the big taste, the big first taste of, life's not always fair, man. When it comes to, those type of opportunities, I've already had lost loved ones in life. I've already realized that life wasn't fair, that, you were gonna, pass away and people weren't gonna make it. And, I've lived through some of that growing up in South Phoenix. But this was the first time that I really ran into like, hey, you could very well be this guy, but we're not going to plant the flag on you because there's this overlying factor, right?
Yeah.
Of what you want, we'll call nepotism,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So real quick, for those of you who are just joining us, again, we're here with Richard Lucero, a good friend, great teammate of mine. And we're just talking about creating opportunities and his his road as an athlete that's very applicable to so many different careers. And so, and then for those of you who don't know Rich, like Richard Lucero was the dude here. You know what I'm saying? In Phoenix, like in terms of quarterback play, just the records that he set. Yeah, I mean, he was it. He was all of that and then some. And so I know he's not going to say that, but I will say it for him. Like all of us coming up, man, especially those of us who lived in South Phoenix, like we knew who Richard Lucero was. Like we knew who Rich was. You know what I'm saying? And so it's crazy hearing this story like 20 plus years later.
Yeah.
But man, so now you're here at this situation. You got a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of nepotism going on. You and your
Mm-hmm.
family realize that, hey, we're not going to be able to do this. But you had
Correct.
no idea about Phoenix College. You had no idea about UMass. You had no
Right.
idea about
No, I
arena
didn't.
football and about Northern Arizona. Talk to us
None of
about that
that.
real quick.
So, you know, when we decided that it was time to make moves, and here's what's going on, there's a lot of moves being made these days, right, by athletes. And it's not uncommon. It hasn't been uncommon because a lot of times you're just trying to find an opportunity. Well, I ended up back at Southbound High School, man. You know, we ended up going back home. And you know what? I ended up running into another tough battle, man.
Yeah.
And you know, my good friend Kenny Gamage was a quarterback there, and his uncle was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
His dad was the best friend of the head varsity coach. You know what I mean?
Ain't
It's
no
like
rest for the weary, baby. Let's
let me
go.
tell you. So for all you athletes out there, just know that you're gonna face competition. You're gonna face it. You gotta embrace that
Yeah.
challenge, right? And so, you know, here we go again. But you know what, man? That prior experience helped, you know, sharpen me and harden me a little bit. And you know, you know, me and Kenny went to battle, and ultimately, Coach Dansby, he made a huge decision. Let me tell you, man. He went against.
Shout out Cleveland Dansby,
Let's go,
one of the
Coach
real
D.
OGs right there.
That's
Shout
my
out Coach
boy right
Dansby.
there. You know, and the thing about, you know, having good coaches, you know, like I've had in the past, you know, what I value the most is having that relationship that goes beyond the field.
Yeah.
Right. And me and Coach Dansby, we still get down, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's on Messenger or something. Or anyways, man, he had to make a big choice at that moment. He planted the flag on me, and away we went. And I had a very successful high school career at South Mountain High School. You know, Tempe still ended up having very successful times with Todd Morrison, so I ended up working out. You know, Todd Morrison, his senior year, won a Fred Anke Award. I wanted my senior year, I won a Fred Anke Award. You know,
Yeah.
I got, you know, I got the honorable All-American mentions for the state of Arizona, the only quarterback in my graduating class, you know, from the Republic to USA Today, right? And ended up having a very good career at South. Man, I'm so appreciative of what Coach Dansby did to really step out on that branch and say, you know what, I'm going to go Rich. I'm going to
Yeah.
go with the best player. And here's what he told me years later. He said, you know what, Rich, man, I had to go against my best friend. I had to go against, you know, my other friend who was his uncle, the defensive corner. He's like, but you know what though, man, you were the best guy for the job. And he's
Wow.
like, and he said this, and he's right when he says this. He says, outside of my own son, you're the best quarterback I've ever coached. And
Wow.
his son Cleveland Dansby Jr., very good athlete, man. He ended up going to NEU and played football up there, man. And you know what, man? And when you hear a coach tell you something like that, man, it still makes me feel good right now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It still
Yeah.
makes me feel good. So, you know, leaving South, you know, I didn't really get a ton of opportunity above the junior college level, you know, and a huge part of the reason that I'm going to own is, you know, I didn't really take school serious. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't a 3.5, 4.0 individual. And you know what, that it's very important when coaches are looking for you, you know, because you become a risk to them if your grades are low, if you're not taking school serious, because, you know, colleges, you know, college, man, you know, nobody's going to call you and call your parent to see why you didn't go to class.
No.
You don't go to class, then that's fine. It's getting paid for, and you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And so, and it's risky for coaches to maybe go out and sign a guy, you know, who's not taking school as serious as a person who is, right?
Yeah.
So even though I may have been checking some boxes with my physical performance academically, I believe I was falling short, you know, and maybe at the time too, Joe, we might have talked about this, you know, a young Hispanic male quarterback, there's, you know, that wasn't something that you saw a lot of,
No,
When
no.
we were growing up, right? And you're starting to see more of it, which I'm thankful for,
Yeah,
right? And so I think where I could have helped myself at that point, to all you young student athletes out there listening, is if I would have had my grades up to where they were when I finally finished college, right? Then
yeah,
I may have had a little bit, but you know what though? The journey continued. Yes, I ended up going to Phoenix College. It gave me more time to grow. And again, as I mentioned, the goal at that point was to play college football, right? Obviously, the major goal is to make the NFL, right? That's everybody's dream if you're a football player. But at that point was like, okay, man, I can play college football now. Let's see how far this is going to go. And so the road took me to Phoenix College. The goal didn't change.
the
The support
goal,
from my
yeah, the
didn't
goal did not
change.
change. It
It
didn't
didn't
change.
change.
And
That's
and
the
and
support. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
real quick, for those of you listening again, we're talking to Richard Lucero, just about creating opportunities and how just because your situation changes, your coaching staff changes, your life changes, competition changes, the goal never changes. And so we're
Change.
gonna have Rich back for a part two. We're gonna leave him on a cliffhanger right there, Rich. We're gonna leave him on a cliffhanger because there are so many things that you've brought up that we're going to open up. And we haven't even talked about just being a Hispanic quarterback. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? We haven't even talked about that and some of the other challenges as far as being a parent now, right? You've been through
Hmm.
it as an athlete, you've been through it as
Yes.
a coach.
Correct.
Now you're going through it as a parent,
Correct.
20 some years now removed, and the game has changed, but some things still stay the same. And
Correct.
so, man, Rich, loved having you on. We talked about this before. We were like, man, we're gonna have to do a part two. We're gonna have to do a
Yeah.
part two.
Yeah.
And you're rolling right now. And I want to give the people some time to chew on those powerful words that you shared with us, man. Is there anything else that you want to drop on us before we sign out for part one?
You know what? You don't always get a chance to tell your story when you become an adult. You quite often walk around visiting those past times in your head.
Yeah,
And if you have a family and children, maybe sharing them with them. Or if you become a coach, maybe talk about it a little bit. So it's nice, Joe, to get with you, to be able to share some of this information, and perhaps it'll reach somebody
yeah,
and help them, continue on in their own personal journey, man, because it's a beautiful grind. It's a
yeah,
grind, but at the end of the day, it's beautiful. And one day you look back on it, it's your pastime,
yeah. That's
and
cool, man.
I'm thankful for it, man. And I'm thankful
Yeah.
for the opportunity to be here with you, Joe. You're a good friend of mine, man. I appreciate it, dude. I would love to do a round two.
No, for sure. Hey, man, you already signed up, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that ain't you ain't said but a word, man. But Rich, man, thank you so much. And for those of you who joined us today, thank you for listening. Stay tuned for part two with Richard Lucero. God bless you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.